welcome my panelists, and I would like first to give the floor to each of the panelists to introduce themselves, because they can introduce themselves more than I can. So we start with Engineer Azzah.
Assalamu alaikum, it's Azzah Aldeghaither. Can you all hear me? Wonderful. And I graduated from the US with a Bachelor of Architecture degree, and I started working in the kingdom when it was difficult for a woman to even contemplate architecture. And since that time to now, it's been a journey, a wonderful journey full of adventure and a little bit of spice, a little bit of fight, but it's been a great ride. And in that period, I fell in love with primordial principles, Islamic abstraction, Saudi Arabia, and natural building systems, and sacred geometries. Thank you.
We are honored to have you. Welcome.
My name is Rawan Radwan, and I am a writer, currently a freelance writer, but I was an editor and then head of the department of special projects in Scotland at Arab News. Storytelling has been part of my, I would say, DNA since day one. Coming back to the kingdom in 2018, I've seen this massive move towards, urbanization and all these different stories told by the younger generation and told also by our seniors and our experts in various very respected fields. So it gave us journalists and writers, of course, that power and that drive to want to tell these stories. And seeing how there is a very deeply rooted history here in Saudi Arabia, I feel that this is a really great panel to bring that topic forward as well.
Thank you, Michael.
So please the lady first. So I'm Michael Platt. I'm a French landscape architect, graduated from the School of Architecture and Landscape in Bordeaux, in France. I've been living and working 20 years in China, in South China, in the city of Shenzhen, which is, the city that will come from a very small village and become one of the most vibrant city in China, and where all the innovation and creativity have been built. And it was interesting as a landscape architect to effectively work on. I'm always passionate about bringing, creating a new destination with innovation that there is no culture. Even for a foreigner, it's the same thing that I've been developing in China and now here. Organization, kind of NGO, to try really to understand the local culture and understand how we can not just copy and pass, but really get inspired to create innovation based on local conditions.
Thank you, and please allow me, we're going to have a 3-minute alignment on key terms, and I will start by defining what is landscape architecture as a profession according to IFLA. This is from our IFLA World website. You can go there. We have been negotiating with the International Labour Organization to define the profession. Landscape architect plan, design, and manage natural and built environments, applying scientific principles to address ecological sustainability, quality and health of landscape, collective memory, heritage and culture, and territorial justice. By leading and coordinating other disciplines, landscape architect deals with the interaction between natural and cultural ecosystem, such as adaptation and mitigation related to climate change, stability of ecosystem, socioeconomic improvement, community health, welfare, to create places and plans that anticipate social and economic well-being. And I thought that we need to also align on 2 other terms. So the first one is identity. And we talk here about urban identity, and we need to define it in the context of also Saudi Arabia and how it can be related to the overall urban form, the social and environmental impact of that. And urban identity, we need to define it as authentic urban identity that can connect to the place with meaning and relationship beyond only stylistic interpretation. And the third one, which we as a team discussed as well, that when we talk about cultural continuity, we talk about the continuity between the local culture that was present for thousands of years and the inclusion of the multiple cultural perceptions that come when other communities come and inhabit the places as residents, visitors, or newcomers. And let me start by our first question. I will direct it first to Rawan. How landscape design contribute to places of authentic urban identity, and what practices of landscape design contribute to that?
Well, if you look at history, you understand that every layer in any city is a collection of stories, of designs, of ideas that have been accumulating throughout time, integrated, of course, into culture and integrated into, for example, the wellness and well-being of community and the society itself and the understanding of the society. You'd understand that this is how an urban design comes out, what's the word I'm looking for? I would say integrated, exactly. The idea is that storytelling is part of our nature. Here, not only in the region, this is found in every single area around the world, and we build on that, and that's how we know that there's a success story right there.
Michael, what's your take on that aspect?
I think, so I'm a landscape architect and I'm doing design, and I think even as a foreigner, the main point is really to understand the site, the condition of the site, the topography, the culture, the community, the way of life. And I think that it's sometimes very different than an artistic approach where we come with a gesture, with a big idea, with an ambition, and some pre-made design somehow that we try to stick or adapt or adjust to a context. I think it's much more like a humble approach where we are going to understand and try to reveal this identity and this existing structure to build something more and it can be even designed by a foreigner again, but things that make sense with the site, with the environment, with the nature, with the society.
Very holistic. It's very holistic. Once you understand it, and once you listen to your surroundings, that's how you come up.
And this is where we benefit from the presence of Engineer Azzah to talk really about Islamic architecture and how the principles that form Islamic architecture, including landscape, how these could be carried out in current expressions to landscape to reinforce urban identity and contribute also to the future of the city, but also to the city culture.
So I think a lot about this question and how to reduce it so we can see something that most people are not seeing right now. Because Islamic architecture has been regulated to a style. It is not a style. And that's number one I'll be addressing. Number two, Islamic architecture is different from Spain and the runoff from South America from Spain, all the way to China, through the Mughals, through North Africa. Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to speak about what it means in Saudi Arabia. A flag is a one-sheet symbol of a country. It says everything the country is in one piece of fabric. Ours says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, full stop. We're the only country in the world that says that. So the first sentence is about Tawheed. The second is how to behave as a human and who to adhere to. You agree with it, you don't agree with it, it is what it is. Our king is called custodian of the two holy mosques before he's called a king. So we have Mecca, Medina, the symbolism of these two places that affect our urban design attitude by virtue of the representative of the country and his title. So from that reductionist logic, I will begin. This is who we are. The principles of Tawheed, unity, is about unity in multiplicity or diversity, and multiplicity and diversity in unity. It's not a one-liner. It is having multivalent readings. The idea of man, the human approach, and a prophet for all mankind, is that it's inclusive while it's diverse. It's from east to west, north to south. This we have to know and understand. So, any approach to any design, whether it's a piece of fabric, fashion, urban, landscape, architecture, or a flower arrangement, will have that kind of human aspect to it as you remember, and it's called dhikr. So, then we come to Mecca and Medina. What does that mean? The only space in Islam that has an object is Mecca, in the center, is the Haram. Everywhere else, it's a space, even a garden, it's fountain, it symbolizes something. We are not St. Peter's Square, where we have an Egyptian obelisk in the middle. No. The only place that has an object is Mecca. And how Medina was done was the Prophet took his white camel, kiswa, which means covered, that in itself has meanings, and he led her to a space 50 steps to the right, 50 steps in front, left. So, and he said, هذا مكان التجمع. This is the space of connection. So you have the two dichotomies. Form, Mecca, object, and space, Medina. The interplay between object, Jalal, and Medina, space, Jamal, is a dance that all designers following Islamic philosophy. I'm not talking about religious fanaticism. As you can see, I'm not an expert at that. I'm talking about philosophy. I'm talking about the intellectualization and the abstraction of Islamic architecture. The interplay between space and non-space, form and non-form, tajamma' al-mudadain, the co-joining of opposites, is the criteria of and principle of Islamic design, inherent in our principles or aqidah. So, every numerology, every number, every letter in the alphabet has meanings. The sacred geometry have meanings, they're hidden. They used to be well known by the stonemasons or the masons, and they were called the Bana'un, the builders, or the Mi'mariyun. Also Mi'mari, which is now they call it the architect, because architect used to mean architectonic, arch, the highest builder. So actually, Mi'mari is also somebody who builds. From these principles, we come to the criteria. There is Tawheed, the unity. When you design something, it cannot look deconstructionist or broken apart. It has to look complete and whole and beautiful. Just like a beautiful woods, a forest, a mountainscape, a seascape. Naturally, everything is complete and balanced. Man has to replicate this on Earth. this thing. So it's tawheed, it's an attitude. Then there's the second principle is mizan. It's the balance. Everything has to be balanced. I'm not going to go into the details, it's too long. I could write books on this. The third one is ihsan, applying beauty to the place. Then there is something called fitra. This is intuition. So you have your own something based on your taba and tatabba, nature and nurture. You instill in it your intuition. Number 4 is hikmah, and that's your wisdom. It's all your knowledge that you put forth in any endeavor. And number 6 is remembrance. Because if you don't remind man about the wonder he lives in, he's a superficial animal. You have to. This is the job of the Mimaria if he takes his job seriously. And the Mimaria is landscape. Anyone who builds landscape, play spaces, architect, urban designer, he has to make man remember that he's part of the harmony of this amazing cosmos. And if you can do that, you're very successful at Islamic architecture. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it seems like timeless wisdom is coming to be given here, and it takes into account this holistic way of seeing landscape and culture and identity in a whole is also what makes this place making important for us to belong to. And for that, if we compare this timeless wisdom with the challenges we are facing in our current landscape, especially in terms of fake identity, how can we design places that become part of the story of the city, its culture, feed into its future through its design, but in an authentic way? Michael, can I ask you to give us your thoughts on this before we take Rawan's thoughts as well? And it's a difficult job after engineer as an inspiration and
we are still thinking.
Yes, yes.
I think really the risk is always trying to mimic and missing the point actually. I think effectively, as you mentioned, it's everything is in harmony and on the cohesive and comprehensive approach and sense that link everything, not only architecture, landscape, but of course the societies, the communities, the way we are living together, etc. And I think today, sometime, we are again focusing very much on the image, on the iconic, design that we are trying to achieve. But the real question for being successful is to touch the soul of the people that are living the place or will live the place, and to answer and echo their lifestyle. It's not the landscape, it's not the design that will bring a new life. We sometimes we believe that we have the arrogance to believe that our design will change the life of people, and I think it's a mistake. I think it's really this humble approach where we should understand where we are, the site, the topography, the water, etc. The people that have been living there, the way they are using the space, the way they are interacting with each other. And only when we understand that, we can try humbly to adapt and propose something new. Doesn't mean that it cannot be innovative or outstanding, but the first point should be the people, the site, and the condition. So I think that's the main risk. Today we all love the big stuff, the loud, and we believe to create a deep and strong experience, we need to shout even louder than the next one, especially these days. But actually the real experience, it's something very intimate and something very deep inside. I think that I will finish on that. I ask everyone to think about the best place, the place you love the most. Is probably not the most outstanding place, but it's really the place where your experience, your love, your feeling, your emotion have be the more deep and the more meaningful for your life. It's not necessarily about how big and wow the design is.
Rawan, how we can take this story into places that touch the heart and connect to the soul?
Well, I believe that the challenge is actually to even have something that will endure time and space. We neglect to acknowledge the fact that, you know, we build these amazing, iconic, structures, and our designs, our cities are beautiful. You look at New York, you have that grid line, you have Los Angeles, you have Jeddah, you have Riyadh, you have Dubai, you have all these amazing, iconic cities and landscape and urban designs, and they're very much like what we said earlier. It's anatomy, it's an understanding of the science itself. But we also have to understand that we have to build something that will endure time and space, and that will be the timelessness. That will be the remembrance that Azzah alluded to. And if you look at what we have here in Saudi Arabia, you have amazing areas such as the downtown Jeddah, Balad. We have Al-Ula with its amazing it's sand dunes, and that mix. That's the challenge that we're addressing, and what we're doing now is moving past it by ensuring that the story is continuing and being told again and again and again. And this is how, one, you create identity. One, it's iconic, but not today's modern understanding of iconic. And of course, you also have this, you have the youth here that we are utilizing very much so, and we're educating them in the proper way. This is what I think that I actually believe through my work and through my research and through interviews, constant interviews with many people in various fields. It's what they tell to me and what the audience hears and what the audience resonates with and connects with, and this is how we ensure that there's a success story.
Thank you, and definitely then it will leave us with one of the most important questions, also from a professional perspective. How we can train and educate local landscape architects, Saudi, to take on learnings on identity from traditional cultural practices and cultural landscape site into their contemporary design proposal. And I will start with Engineer Azzah, if you can tell us how these principles that are timeless that you take us through, how we can train and educate the local landscape and the young professionals to take on these very important philosophical principles beyond the stylistic interpretation, beyond the very stringent design guidelines and landscape guidelines.
First, you have to stop teaching style. Naming things and putting them in boxes. And we have to teach students how to see things in abstract terms. How does this happen? It's an awareness. We have al-jasad world, the world. The world in Arabic is called dunya. Comes from the word doon, which means lowest. Bigger than that is alam al-khayal, the imaginary world. Because obviously you're limited in this physical world. It's the most dense and heavy.
The world of the senses.
So after that you have the imaginary world where you're lighter. And you can do and aspire to the impossible. After that, and this is Islamic philosophy that we're not taught in school. We're taught physical actions, more power to that. I'm certainly not going to cause trouble there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the philosophy. After that you have alam, after the khayal you have alam and ruh. And that's the spirit world. In Aborigine, the dream world, the spirit world, is actually believed to be real, and their dream work paintings, which are being sold for enormous amount of money, is actually a language with which they express to people worldviews. So in us too, Alam al-Ruh is actually the world of the seen and the unseen. It is where you soar and you go beyond the imagination. But after that, there is another world, and it's even bigger. It's called the Alam That. This is an intellectual world of names and sifat al-ma'ani, qualities and meaning. And that's why, symbolically, he taught Adam, which means clay, or he taught him the names and the meanings. It's symbolic. So once you teach a child to think abstractively and intellectually and activate his consciousness, he cannot but work outside the confines of style. If I told anyone that the Kaaba has 221 symbolic meanings, one, there are 3 of the sides that corners that are directions, and the 4th is a meteorite. It comes from outer space. What do you think that black box is trying to say? You circumvent it to do a hajj, but you cannot do a hajj within the box. What is that trying to say? It says that there's 7 of these cubes above this one. What do you think that's trying to say? And that's from a form that's totally simple. So as Michael has said, and as Rawan has said, it's not a one line, it's not a style and complicated spaces. That block box has more meanings than the most complicated piece of architecture you can describe. Who will put thought in every line? So it has a depth of meaning. So he instills his intellectual being into a project. Now you just tell AI, design me an amazing building in the style of so-and-so.
A journey.
And it will. It will. But you know something? You might do something wow for the people of the surface, but people of the soul will recognize it as fake right away, because it cannot, something soulless cannot create something with soul. So how do we teach the children? We teach the children how to abstract thought, how to analyze, how to understand the meanings and the hidden meanings of sacred geometries, to think deeper than the wow, to be more than the sum of their own parts. And then we would have created something truly, truly special. And I make a call, if anybody knows anyone in the education sector in Saudi Arabia, please, to tell them to include real architecture, so Islamic architecture from an Arab Islamic perspective instead of Orientalist books brought from the outside. So our students can be competitive in the market by being great designers from the cultural authenticity perspective. Thank you.
That's a very, very important question. I think definitely going to take it forward on this one. Rawan?
We need to create this bridge. There is a bridge. You know, we are of nature. We built everything based on our natural surroundings. We're not excluded to it, and if we build something that's foreign to it, it won't accept it. So we need to create that bridge also in that storytelling aspect of it, because again, we go back into history, our wadis, the choice of the selection of trees even, you know, they inspire, and it's a continuum to create that. There was a period of time, of course, with modernization, of course, wanting to, you know, build outside the box, but then again, they're actually confined to a certain box, and they weren't very creative. Now is the time to really create that bridge between the past and the present and the future, and create the story of our own based on the nature, based on the identity of each space. You mentioned Mecca, Ms. Azzah. I'm from Medina. My go back to the roots. We need to create this archive, and there is an archive. There are numerous archives. It's just not simply just from the images and the pictures that we have on hand. It's also go back and speak to your elders. I understood how my family home was built because of the land that they owned. And that's how you understand better. That's how you ensure that the next generation of architects, urban designers, and anyone that works in landscape and can actually understand that there's a connection that they need to have in order for them to flourish, in order for them to succeed in whatever it is that they're looking to succeed in. That's the goal. Create that bridge between nature and land, and then you'll know that they're okay.
Thank you. It's going to be difficult to summarize such interesting insights, but we have gone through a journey from place, culture, principles, Islamic philosophy, but also relationship between man, land, territory, humility, humbleness, and bridging between generation, and also bridging between land, person, human, and culture, and nature. So thank you so much for keeping with us on this journey, and I hope you got the insights, and you are here also if you want to talk to us later afterwards. Is there any questions from the audience?
Thank you all. I'm still inspired by the mashallah wisdom of Azzah words and about all the speakers as well. If I want to add something to the panel subject is any designers should put in mind the desires and the needs of the end user while they design any space. That's all I just want to thank you for your words.
Thank you for your note.
Thank you so much for that interesting discussion. What I would like to say is, I think the approach to think deeper and extract values that create culture, and then that culture informs a landscape design or any design is, I think, the right approach. And I think that has been forgotten a lot. And I came here some 30 years ago. I've seen it, and I think a lot of culture was stolen somehow. There was a huge disconnect, and now people are trying to connect that again. But I think all the principles and values, this is what should inform our actions as designers. We should teach that, not to. I was in critics in Vancouver, and professors there said to the students, your drawings look amazing, they're absolutely flashy, but where is the thinking behind that? And I thought that had a lot of truth. And what was also said is, for me, design needs to be regional, and it needs to have a connection to the region, to the landscape, to the forms and shapes. And obviously, Saudi Arabia was almost at the crossroads of the world, and there's actually a book about that trading and how Saudi Arabia was influenced by others, but also how Arabs influenced others as well, going down to Spain as well, to the east. And I think that is something that we need to remember. What are the shared values? What creates culture? How does that inform design, and how does that change over years? So for me, it would be like learning in the past, then in the now, and design for the future. And I think you said that beautifully. That's what I critique young architects always. They think within a couple of hours they come up with something super flashy, but they don't take the time to think a week about what they actually want to do, what they should do, what feels right and is right. Because I deeply believe that in the end you design feelings for a user. You don't design form, you something for the soul and people. And thank you so much for highlighting that.
Any other question? Yes, please.
I would like the two gentlemen, the end user and yourself as teaching to the young. There is something, we don't have enough time to discuss that we have a responsibility. Well, man is Khalifatullah al-Ard. He's actually the vice regent of God on earth. That means his right-hand man. Realize how heavy that statement is. It is our responsibility as service providers, architects, to nutqin al-amal, that's part of ihsan, and to give the client as honest a job as possible, following the full integrity of the concept. It is incumbent on us to respect the environment and to build within the understanding of the easiest means. Imagine, this is incumbent on us. What is accessible, what is easy to get. It's actually, how do you become a right hand of something great? You provide a great service, you follow through with what is accessible for the best quality and the best possible price. And both of you are correct. And thank you for pointing that out. So I could have an excuse to say, Vice Regent Khalifatullah al-Ard. I love that. Thank you.
It's true, timeless words are being said here. So design is a divine responsibility, and that's why the first architects were actually seen as also masters, because they were teaching universal principles of humanity, and to be an architect was actually one of the divine tasks under certain governments and certain regimes and certain even schools, like the Greeks or the Romans, or even in Turkey during the Ottoman period, there were some architects who were seen as the hands of the Sultan even. So it's a very big thing, but we can talk about it in other panels. We have thousands of years of design practice in the Arabian Peninsula, and definitely one panel cannot summarize it all. But also we thank Michael for being part of this mostly women panel, which I'm glad to be moderating in this conference, bringing some of the timeless wisdom of the female energy into the landscape conference. So thank you all for being with us.